empowering administration careers. First thing that I want to talk about is confidentiality. I did not realize just how big confidentiality was in the world of education administration. The first time I came across this was when I asked our freshman principal if I could shadow him for the day. And he came back and said he wasn't sure how to make that work because of all the confidential things that happen in his office on a day-to-day basis. And with me going to that school, it wouldn't work out very well. I learned more about confidentiality on my shadow day on October 25th, 2019, where I shadowed Mrs. Rachel Flanders at Louisville High School, one of the 9th and 10th grade centers still in the district of Louisville ISD. Ms. Flanders is an assistant principal at Harmon. She has spent 16 years in education after getting her bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies and her master's degree in educational leadership. This is her third year in administration. My shadow day started at 7:45. I got there in the morning and went over everything Ms. Flanders had planned for the day. It was about 6 or 7 things. It didn't seem like it was going to be a super busy day. It looked pretty normal, but I was completely mistaken. As you can see in the right-hand column is everything that we actually did, and everything coded in yellow are things that we didn't plan to do. So if I learned anything from this, it was that you have to expect the unexpected in administration because no 2 days are the same. If that doesn't show you enough, I also wore a watch to see how many steps I would take during this day. To put it in perspective, the average American takes about 4,000 to 6,000 steps. Would anyone like to guess how many steps I took?
8,000.
I took over 11,200 steps. I felt like we never sat down, and it's because we never really did. One thing Ms. Flanders said was that if you're an administrator and you sit in your office and do phone calls and emails all day, you're missing something. You need to be out in the school community as much as you can. The clerical work will get done. First thing that I did on my shadow day was hall duty. We greeted the students as they came in for the day, making sure that they had their hoods off, making sure that they had their ID badges on. But more than just those housekeeping type things, Ms. Flanders was able to greet many of the students by name, asking how they were doing, and just checking up on them. I thought that this was awesome because she was able to start the students off on a positive note. And she's an adult who doesn't even see them every day in the classroom, but they were still able to know that there was an adult in the building who really did care for them. After hall duty, we went and did the announcements. This is something that the principal normally does, but the principal wasn't there on my shadow day, so we had to cover for him. I learned that in administration, if somebody isn't there, you need to cover for them because although they aren't there, their responsibilities still are. After the announcements, we took a tour around the school so I could get acquainted with where we'd be going throughout the day. Now that planned routine that I talked to you about earlier, that only lasted until about 10 o'clock in the morning. While we were on our tour around the school, Ms. Flanders got a call on her walkie-talkie that there had been a student incident upstairs. 2 students had gotten in a physical fight, and so they had to call up to administrators to break up the fight. The student that Ms. Flanders escorted from the classroom was very heated up to the point of yelling profanities and lashing out physically. I kind of stepped back at this situation because I don't normally see this at my home campus, so I wasn't sure how it was really handled, but I did want to see how Ms. Flanders would handle it. She was able to get the student to the point where they were able to have a sophisticated conversation and let him know, look, I want to know what's going on, I care about you, but we can't be throwing things down the hall and yelling those kinds of things down the hallway. Unfortunately, due to things that had happened earlier in the week, plus what had happened on this day, Ms. Flanders ended up having to send this student home. And one unique aspect about this situation was that his parents didn't speak English. So Ms. Flanders had to get a translator to call home and then to talk to the parents once they got to the school. After everything with the student was complete, we went and did lunch duty. I was able to conduct my 15-minute interview during this time. We had about 5 or 10 minutes for ourselves to eat lunch, and then we were right back up and at it again at lunch duty. After lunch, we went and did a teacher evaluation. This is something that I actually requested that we be able to do because about a week prior, I had the opportunity to be evaluated at the elementary school at which I evaluated for the first time was very scary because I had no idea what that administrator was looking for. I just knew that he was there watching me for an hour writing things on the computer. So I was very interested to see what it was like from an administrator's view to understand why teacher evaluations happen. I was able to see that teacher evaluations are really to help the teacher and to help them get better at what they do and not just to scare them by watching them for an hour. And the final big idea that I want to leave you with is the importance of administrators building positive relationships with students and teachers and parents for that matter by meeting them on their level. It's not always going to be something positive that brings up a conversation between an administrator and somebody in the school community, but if an administrator is able to do their job really well, then they're going to be able to bring out a positive outcome from whatever started the conversation in the first place. Thank you so much for your time today. Any questions?